I saw Celia again, yes, for a second time, and it was only because of Anna. Yes, it always goes back to Anna, doesn't it? The new museum was holding a major retrospective of Anna Mendietta's work in the winter of 1987. Anna's first in the world, 2 years after she had died, after she had fallen 34 stories in the West Village, or was thrown. I'd never imagined that I'd ever have the opportunity to see so many of Anna's works in one space. There were more than 150. I assumed that I'd never have the chance again, so even though I could not afford it, I purchased a student membership with my very much expired student ID, and I went to the museum nearly every day until the exhibition closed. It is a wonderful thing to realize that there is so much more to learn about an artist you love. I was already familiar with much of Mendietta's work, though only through photographs, because nearly all of her work was ephemeral land art that eroded or washed away before many people in New York had ever heard of her. At this show, however, there was so much more. Even permanent sculptures. It was like realizing a very good book hadn't truly ended. There were many new chapters to read. So I spent a great deal of time walking the galleries, studying these pieces. But I was not the only one. I saw Celia that first week. She was studiously exploring Mendietta's Tree of Life. But I did not say anything. It had been 2 years since we sat next to each other at Anna's public memorial, so I wasn't sure it was her, and even if it was, I thought it might be strange to admit that I recognized her after so much time, especially since her long auburn hair had been sheared close to her scalp, making her appear maybe more boyish since I last saw her. Then I saw her again, days later, clunking around in brown leather workman's boots from one gallery to another, and then days later again, and then days later again, and by then I knew it had to be this girl who sat beside me at Anna's memorial. We were each looking at Anna's wooden sculptures, each of them carved like totems that stood upright. And Celia said, "You were at the funeral." No hello, no introduction, just this declarative. I told her I was, maybe a little surprised that one of us spoke at last. And we introduced ourselves, finally, formally. She said she would have introduced herself 2 years earlier, but after the 3-hour-long memorial, she couldn't muster the strength to speak to anyone. She said she'd become an artist solely because of Anna and her work, so she was devastated by Anna's fall, or by how Anna's artist husband threw her off the 34th floor. Though in 1987, a courtroom was still weeks from making a verdict on that. Celia apologized for not introducing herself 2 years earlier. And I asked, "Why are you apologizing? There's no need." We walked through the exhibition, catching up. Not catching up, I suppose, because we had never known one another. Getting acquainted was more like it. Though, as we spoke about Anna, it felt something like catching up, as if we had this mutual friend who, for whatever reason, was unable to join us in person that day. She asked me if I knew Anna. Truthfully, I only knew of her work. We were both in a group show once, but we didn't really have a chance to get to know each other. And then she asked, "You got to meet her, though?" Yes. She was a beautiful human being, but I only met her that one time. "You're lucky," she said. I never got to meet her. I only got to see some of these right after she made them. Like these. She pointed at a series of photos documenting Anna's muddy land art that had long washed away beside a creek. I was amazed. I asked, "You have seen this in person?" And she said, "I saw a lot of these in person, where she made them, in Iowa." I couldn't believe it. I had never met anyone who had actually ever seen any of Anna's ephemeral works outside of photographs. So I said, "Celia, then I believe you have met Anna."